You're kind of sold this dream that women can have it all. You can run a business and you can get pregnant, you can have kids. I was working from home 4 days after I've had the baby, and Kev coming in, and he'd just been to an award ceremony, and I felt quite a lot of resentment. It's been a journey to try and figure all that out.
I think the message to my daughter is really strong, and it's to her benefit, because what she's seeing is, somebody who's working hard. Don't be that child who, hides behind a hurt sore finger. Go to netball and get on with it.
I was working 2 jobs. We were just eating loads of takeout, putting all of our energy into work. But I'm sure our friends and family were a bit worried about us.
It felt like 14-hour days, 7 days a week.
We also have this immigrant mentality where our parents just worked and worked and worked. They struggled to relax, and I've always been taught that keep progressing, because you never know when it's going to be taken away from you.
We've always managed with Layla. However, recently she's had diagnosis of ADHD, Asperger's, depression. Being a business owner has meant that if and when she needs me, really needs me, I drop whatever I need to and I'm there for her.
Hard work is key. It looks very nice once you've got to a stage where you have got that balance. And there's some really low lows as well. But then there's also very high highs.
Hello and welcome to the Write at Home franchise podcast. You're joining us at the Shard in central London today as we discuss balancing family life with building a business with Jen and Amy from the network.
My name is Amy, and I've been trading in Southampton and Solent with my partner Kev for about 7.5 years now. We took on the Southampton territory about 3 years ago, so yeah. Fantastic,
great stuff. Over to you, Jen.
And my name's Jenny, and I have been trading for 5 years. In fact, it's my 5th birthday today. I think it's the 1st of March. Yeah. And I'm looking after Boreham Wood and Watford, but it's mainly Boreham Wood, Elstree, so the film studios, and Radlett and a few villages around there. Fantastic,
brilliant. Is it all right to learn a little bit more about your family sort of setup and your kind of home life?
Yeah, so I've got 2 daughters. So I've got Mila, who's 5, and Vera, who's 2. And we also have our parents who live quite close by. So mine and Kev's parents live literally 5 or 10 minutes away, which gives us a lot of support. We have a big extended family as well. So always lots going on at our house, and just things generally, loads of events and things to attend, so
keeps
quite
you
busy. Yeah, definitely does keep us busy.
Good.
Yeah,
that's good. How about yourself, Jenny?
So I live with my husband and I've got a 15-year-old daughter, and I do a lot with my family actually, but they don't live too local. I live between where my brother lives and where my parents live, so often it ends up they meet in our house. And I've got my brother's got 4 kids, young. They're like gifts, because my daughter's just not interested in hanging out with her mum until she needs money. So yeah, they don't really support. But my husband and I, we both we've always managed with Layla. Now she's 15, it's much easier. However, we have recently had quite a lot of trouble with her, and she's had some diagnosis of ADHD, Asperger's, depression, and being a business owner has meant that if and when she needs me, really needs me, I drop whatever I need to and I'm there for her, which is great. But also it can be difficult in terms of her, not the business. Sure. Business is a break, going to work.
Business is a break? Well, okay.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my husband's a press photographer, and he travels a lot. So he's been away, for example, the last 3 days. He does a lot of the royal stuff. So when he's gone, he's gone. So it's school runs. She's in a school which is a half-hour drive away, so it's an hour-long round trip on either side of the day. And then coming home at 6:30, trying to get some kind of exercise, and which I manage every day, and then start thinking about what, cooking and all that kind of stuff. So by the time we sit down and eat, it's late. But I have no complaints at all. I love it.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that obviously being a franchise owner has enabled you kind of the flexibility that you need at this stage in your life that maybe you wouldn't have had in employment or previous?
Yeah, absolutely. Because most of the time it's smooth running, but at times where I have had a difficult time, where she's struggled, I have just been there for her and been able to bring her into town for appointments, or, she has sessions every week. So making sure that I'm available to do the sessions as well, because I have to too. So I couldn't do that if I had a job. A manager would just say, what's your priority? Is it work or is it your family? But I can make up all my other work, my work stuff, anytime I need to. I can get up at 3 a.m. and work, which I often do anyway. But, it's much easier.
So before life let's go back to sort of the beginning. Before life as a right-at-home franchisee, what did you do, Ami, and how did you find balancing your previous role with sort of family life?
So we started our right-at-home journey when we were 29, and Kev was 30 at the time, and I was an optician and he's an accountant. So we had very strict 9 to 5s. You kind of go in, do your thing, and there's no kind of baggage to take home. You don't need to worry about what's happening in terms of management, in terms of staffing. So we had a really good balance, actually. And I think a few people thought we were quite crazy to start a business, especially in care where we've got no experience. So yeah, we had a good thing, I think. But we were both kind of also getting bored in our careers and wanting a bit more of a challenge. We wanted to make a difference. We wanted kind of something that we can give our all to, and we just felt we weren't getting that in our careers. So when we started Right at Home, we didn't have any children, which meant that the first 2 years we literally lived and breathed the Right at Home values, and we've really worked hard. We're working 7 days a week, often until 9, 10, 11 at night, just grabbing some takeaways. We lived on takeaways that first year, and we got quite fat. So yeah, we worked really hard, and I got pregnant after, I think it was a year and a half of us starting, and our growth was actually skyrocketing. And that was exactly when I felt pregnant, and I was kind of I can do this. And what
was that the emotion like at that point? What
well,
were you
we wanted
feeling?
to have kids.
Yeah,
we've always loved kids, so we wanted to have kids. But you're kind of sold this dream that women can have it all, and you can run a business, and you can get pregnant, you can have kids, and everything's going to be great. And I think we're one of those first generations where people are you can have it all, and you get support from your husband, you get support from the family. Whereas before, the roles were quite strict, weren't they? So I had that ideology in my head, and I was I'm going to do it all. And then sickness hit, and everything started hitting, and I'm really glad that Kev was around in those months, because luckily we could bounce off each other. But I knew he was feeling the strain as well, because me and him do very different things in the business. So he had to quickly pick up my things. And then when I was back, I was so it was just we were on a kind of in a rat race through the pregnancy. And I really didn't know what was going to hit me when I had Mila. Because again, I just thought, you have a baby, looks like it does when you in the movies, and and yeah, it's really not like that.
It's not. I can imagine. It's hard for me to say, but I can imagine.
It's not Jen, is it?
No, it's emotionally and mentally, it's hard.
Yeah,
new baby.
Yeah, so it was tough, and I think that's when our balance completely tipped. And for those first 2 years of having Mila, I went back full time. I went back at short maternity. I was working from home from 4 days after I've had the baby. I remember being on my laptop and Kev coming in, and he'd just been to an award ceremony, and we were just talking about that. And I felt quite a lot of kind of bit of resentment, because I was I want to be back in the business, but also have to be really grateful because we've had this lovely baby, and you're kind of just going through all of those emotions. So yeah, it's been a journey to try and figure all that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
and you don't like have a blueprint because everyone's experience is so different. So you can't, your experience would have been very different to mine. So it's hard. You have to figure it out yourself.
Absolutely. Was it useful sort of having others within the network that might have had similar journeys, kind of getting advice from other people or from national office? Was there any sort of useful advice that you got kind of along the way?
To be honest, there weren't that many people who were a similar age to me or having children at that time. I think now there's a few others, and I know I met someone at the conference this year, and she had just had a little boy.
Amazing.
And it was so nice for me to talk to her, and she was like, how did you do this and how did you do that? And I could see she had the same excitement in work, but also she was going through that kind of like journey within her own mind of, okay, how am I going to figure this out with having a baby and doing it all? So yeah, it's I just started reading books, to be honest, and figuring out from other women who'd been on this journey. And there's a book by Sharon, I think I've got the wrong name, Sheryl Sandberg. She was the CEO of Facebook, and she, went through a similar journey. So I read that book, and that really gave me some strength and some ideas of how to kind of balance everything. But yeah, I think we're starting a women's group within the franchise.
Amazing.
Which I think is going to be really, really helpful. For the reasons I've just mentioned, there's complete different struggles and journeys for women franchisees, which I think we really need to address and look at.
So getting a group of females together sort of to share problems, challenges, opportunities and that sort of thing?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Amazing.
So hopefully that will help as well.
Brilliant. No, that's fantastic. How about yourself, Jenny? So take you to life sort of before Right at Home, finding Right at Home. What was your life like?
So I was really lucky because I was doing something quite similar in that I was a registered manager. So my background was nursing, and then I was recruiting nurses, and then I went into home care, providing nurses rather than care, both, but mainly nurses. But I'd always wanted my own business, and this type of business is high risk. It's just not the kind of thing you could do on your own, I don't believe. So when I found out about these franchises, I thought, this is perfect. This is, investing a bit of money and actually, because I was making a lot of money for other people as well. And I was becoming a bit like, this is, we're owned by private equity firms. It's all about profits. And, so it happened at the same time. I was just ready to move on, but I didn't know what business. And when I found the franchise, and in fact, I met with a different company prior to Right at Home, and I was a little bit turned off by their vibe, probably more than anything. And then I came across Kate. So I've got a lot of experience in managing a lot of the areas of the business, which has helped me in a lot of ways. But also, it's difficult because you lack confidence sometimes when you've got senior people within my business who put their opinions across. So this year, I feel like I've definitely gained a backbone and said, no, I've been doing this for 20 odd years. I know what I'm doing. And this is what, this is my vision. This is what we're going to achieve. It's going to take hard work. I've just lost my registered manager after 4.5 years. And I think she just didn't like the new me this year, which is fine. So yeah, that was life before. I worked in town. So I was in town every day, which I loved. My daughter was going to school and I had everything set up with childcare and pick up from school and with my husband's job as well, because he does a lot of being away. When he's home, he's available 24/7. So he very much looks after the house and my daughter and food, also shopping. So yeah, that was what I was doing before. So now I'm really in my local town and I'm in my community, which I love. I know so many people just walking the streets, it's just like, hi, and chat. And so different, but very similar as well.
Yeah, and that community is definitely something that really stands out as right at the core of what Right at Home's all about. So that, absolutely, I'm sure that resonates with a lot of people. So obviously running and growing a business is really challenging. Talk me through some of the initial challenges that you faced and some of the sacrifices that you had to make in getting the business going to the level it's at today, and what sort of impact did that have on family life?
So when I resigned from my position, I remember my MD saying to me, Jenny, are you crazy? You are going to be looking for a carer and a client. You need to put the two together. Do you realise how challenging this is going to be? And I said, I know. But somehow it worked. I had one or two carers who were really committed to full-time and to do anything. So as the clients were calling up, I could send these carers out. So it wasn't challenging per se, more time consuming, trying to, the compliance side, the care plans and the schedules, and but it was also, for me, it was a big buzz. I loved it. And you do work really long hours and 24/7, 7 days a week. I mean, I would be in the office, but I loved it. So challenges. The first registered manager I had was actually very good at talking the talk. So I lost her very quickly. And as at the peak of my growth, I mean, we grew really quickly at the beginning and I was completely on my own. Didn't have anybody. It was incredible, really, when I look back. That was probably the hardest part, was fixing the things that she had kind of gone wrong with, as well as building new business and having that vision and wanting the growth. In terms of sacrifices, I think my biggest sacrifice at the beginning was travel, because travel's my happy place. Mm-hmm. And I remember Ken saying to me, how are you going to cope without, your holidays? And I was like, it'd be fine. And it was, but I was desperate to travel as well. And I managed to, I think probably in my first year, I managed to have a week in Italy or something. And then after that, once we were much more established, I've done more traveling. Obviously then COVID. I wanted to be away this week, but then my RM has resigned. So there's lots of different things, but I've done my traveling. I've got the money to do the traveling that I want to do. But no real sacrifices, I don't think. I mean, when my daughter says, you're always working, you're on your phone, and I just say to her, I'm able to afford you lovely things, and we have a nice, comfortable life. Because we have two businesses in this family, and we can do whatever we want because I work really hard. So actually, I think the message to my daughter is really strong, and it's to her benefit, because what she's seeing is, somebody who's working hard. So if a carer calls in sick with, I broke my toe or something, and then, my daughter calls and says, Mum, I can't go to netball because, I hurt my finger. I just go, don't be that child who, hides behind a sore finger. Go to netball and get on with it. So I can't see many sacrifices for me personally. I don't work with my husband, thank the Lord. I just don't know if I can do it.
It works for some. I can imagine others not so much.
But he's there. He's a director on in the company, and he has a good understanding of what's going on at all times, and we talk a lot. But I am on my own, and that, it doesn't matter. Losing my registered manager, she was my everything. I never thought I'd lose her, and it was very sudden. And you realise you are on your own. But at the same time, I feel that I'm a bit of a survivor and I can kind of do anything. Nothing's going to stop me. So there's also positives, but not many sacrifices. I can't think of any. Just travel.
Yeah, I think in terms of sacrifices for us, it was probably a little bit different, because I love your mindset and I love how you're kind of like, actually my kids are seeing me work. And they're seeing me kind of do things, and that's going to make them kind of bigger and stronger and really inspiring, actually. But I think where we were, quite young at the time, I feel like I've kind of grown up through Right at Home. And I feel like at the beginning, I was just like, I can do everything and I'm not sacrificing anything. When we got to the pandemic, we looked back and we were like, we're totally burnt out. We've been working way too many hours. We've actually missed a lot of like Mila's first things. And we are really proud that we can also show her that, Mum and Dad work and they work really hard, and that's why we have all these nice things. And like you said, very much echoing everything that you said. But I think we've learned to work smart now.
Yeah.
And the pandemic really gave us that time to reflect and be like, okay, we're at a certain stage. We need to rethink the way that we work. I don't think we had any balance, to be honest, and we couldn't see it because we were just running and working. And that gave us time to just stop and be like, okay, hold on, what are we doing? How are we doing it? And although you kind of feel like, like you said, we're not scared of anything and we're really ambitious, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs are, So you could just keep going for years and years and years. But yeah, we didn't have the balance. We're definitely working on that now. So still not there, but we're definitely finding it.
But I also think it's different because it's both of you as
Yes,
well. So you
yeah.
really are both consumed. Whereas because my husband has nothing to do with it,
Yeah.
he is, he very much looks after lots of other things.
Yeah.
But also, and I'm really grateful, is successful in his field of work. So we're in a really nice position in terms of, we've put our house on the market and we're buying a new house and it's really exciting and, all those kind of things. So, but I think it's different to having to work with your husband in terms of both of you are consumed by it.
Yeah.
When there's a problem for one of you, it's for both of you.
Definitely, yeah.
It's the conversation, it's the constant discussions, and it's always with you, whereas that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's very true because we're equally passionate.
Yeah.
So when one person's like super passionate, the other one's like, "Can we just stop talking about this and watch Netflix?" And then when the other person's passionate, the other one doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, let's go for a walk or something.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's finding that kind of space where actually we have to be husband and wife outside the business. We can't just talk about business all the time, but we also have this immigrant mentality where our parents just worked and worked and worked. And, honestly, I don't think they ever found a balance until they're retired. And even now, they struggle to kind of like relax.
Yeah.
And I've always been taught that keep progressing, because you never know when it's going to be taken away from you. But I think, like we said, we can learn to kind of find that balance and actually be like, okay, we don't have to do what the previous generations did. We just have to find our new normal. But again, trying to like piece that together and what it looks like when you've not seen it before is a journey we're on.
But I think it's interesting we say about immigrants because my father's the same. He was an immigrant in England at 18 and, he still gets he's in his 80s, he still gets the bus and, refuses to, he worked really, really hard and we were always very careful with everything that we had.
Yeah.
And I think that is so positive on so many levels.
Absolutely.
I've never thought of it like that, actually.
Yeah.
Because where I live, they're all born and bred Bournemouth and Elstree. There's a big Jewish community. And then there's a few of us ruffians hanging around as well in the ghetto.
Yeah.
But they're different to me.
Yeah.
For me, nothing phases me. And I think that probably is seeing my own father build.
Definitely. Makes you stronger.
Work hard.
Definitely. Yeah. So...
Brilliant. Thank you. No, that's really good. Ami, in terms of, you sort of said you're still working at finding that right balance, in particular, kind of the pandemic period was a real challenge. Was there any kind of strategies or practices you kind of put in place in terms of how you could strike a better balance? Did you say we need to have X number of weeks a year where we go and do something for us and for the family? Did you put anything in place at all that helped find that balance?
Yeah, I think we've learned to let go. We're not so particular about every single thing that happens. Before, we'd be so involved in the business, and if something went wrong, it almost hurt because you worked so hard to get there. But we've learned to let go. We've learned to let mistakes happen. We're more reflective, and we do that rule where you don't talk about work after this time. And both of us individually have taken on things for our own well-being that we don't do together as well. There's a few things that we've put in place, and we have to nudge each other to be like, okay, go on, you've got to do that and you've got to do this. But it has been, what's the word? We've had to put it in place. It's not just something like, okay, now we're going to have a balance. We've had to really work at it and figure it out. Even as simple as during the working day, go out for a walk, have a break in the day. You don't have to kind of just keep working through and try and solve all the problems on that day. Simple things, but impactful, we found. So.
You're saying, have you noticed that actually making a difference?
Definitely,
in the business?
We're much calmer, we're much more reflective. We'll take time to look at what's going on in the business rather than reacting. Before, we were very reactive and trying to, like I said, solve everything. When we were on holiday, Kev had to take his laptop with him to do invoicing for many, many years. And the fact that we're at a place where we can employ people to do certain things as well. So sometimes when you start your own business, it's not that easy at the beginning. You know, you can't just be like, from day one, I'm going to have a really balanced kind of approach, because like Jen said, you're just working all the time to grow the business. So we are fortunate that we've got a fantastic team now, and we can take that step back and think about ourselves a bit more.
Is it all right to take me through what a day in the life looked like for you at the outset of your journey and say a month ago? What do those sort of days look like for you?
So at the beginning, I was up and out extremely early and in the office, because that's my quiet time before the phones start ringing. Whereas now, I might be at the office at 9:30, you know, because I just want to fit in walking. I do a lot of walking to try and kind of, So I had to do everything. So I had to be massively efficient and organised, which doesn't come naturally for me. Whereas now a lot of the work is given to other people, and that makes a massive difference. So it's empowering others. As Amy said. So in terms of invoicing, for example, it was always me. Scheduling was always me. Whereas now I've got people that feel confident to do those things themselves, so I can travel. But my days are much calmer. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I would love to change is about efficiencies. But I'm using the word a lot, and I'm trying to get that message across to my team that it's worth investing time to get things right, especially with all the changes this year. We've just moved to Pitch. It's been interesting.
That's a new software.
Yeah. So I just work less hours now.
Is that good from the perspective of more time to spend with your daughter?
Well, it's great.
At home,
yeah, but it's also good because it's not too stressy and hectic, although there are periods of the day that are stressy and hectic. And I have to say that some months are much easier than others, depending on what's going on at any given time.
Sure.
But the office that I work in locks up at 6, so I have to leave at 6, which I don't enjoy because I quite like that quiet time, and it doesn't open till 9.
So would you quite often go home and open the laptop back up? And
I don't.
You do switch off?
I do switch off. I have this incredible ability to the point where it's a bit dangerous, because I can go, have a wonderful conversation with a potential new client who I'm going to, we're going to organise to go and do the assessment Monday, and, it comes up and I go, who's that? I don't, I really switch off. If I need to, I can work from home. I don't enjoy it. I like to be in the office while I'm working.
Sure.
And when I'm at home, I like to be Netflix, YouTube, cooking, or drinking, socialising, type thing.
Yeah. But it took a while to get to that point. If you look back to day one, you wouldn't have turned the laptop off at 6 p.m. or
definitely not.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
It was
it's taken time.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It felt like 14-hour days, 7 days a week. I've sat by the pool doing the invoicing. I've been at tennis lessons doing the scheduling, on a Sunday. It's amazing what you can actually do. You can be anywhere and work. This time last year, I was away for 3 weeks, so it was probably 4 weeks, because I was away a week, back for a week, away for 3 weeks. And I just had Zooms and, could do a little bit of work. It didn't impact my holiday at all, but I was still there and available for anything that comes up. And also the other thing, and I'm sure Amy will agree, is that at this stage, I only get involved when things are difficult. So a lot of the noisy stuff is dealt with and I'm not involved. So it's also challenging, which is great, because then I've got to really think about how to do things and use some brain cells. But yeah, I switch off very well.
Amy, take me through a day in the life for you right now, and also what did a day in the life look like at the outset of starting the business?
So at the outset, I was working 2 jobs. So we had our office, which was in Fareham, and I used to work at Vision Express just around the corner. I used to come in at lunchtime, do recruitment, and then go back to work, and then come back after work, and work until kind of 10 o'clock at night, because we put all of our savings into the business, and I was the breadwinner, I suppose, at that time. Obviously, we weren't making any money at the beginning. So that was kind of day to day for a good probably year-ish. And then as we were growing, I kind of was locuming with Vision Express and a few others, and I just kind of took less days. So that was the beginning. As I said, we were just eating loads of takeout and just putting all of our energy into work, and trying to balance, our social lives and have a life actually around it. But I'm sure our friends and family were a bit worried about us because we were quite stressed out a lot of the time. But we do have a fantastic support system, so that really did help. Right now, we, much like Jen, are more about problem solving, people managing, trying to support our team, trying not to get involved and give the solution, so our teams can kind of think and come up with their own ideas. And it's quite hard to let go, isn't it? Hard to let go of your baby.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I feel like I've suddenly got my baby back because my RM's just left. So I'm loving this week. Yeah. Anyway.
And that's what happens, doesn't it? Because you have people in place and you're kind of like, oh, great, like everybody's doing their thing. And then somebody leaves, so you have to step back in again.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's been a point in the last 7.5 years where we've not been doing some hands-on stuff. Mm-hmm. So right now I'm doing all of the recruitment again because we recently, our recruitment lady has moved on. So we're also recruiting a new person, but in the meantime I have to get stuck in again. But no, we are a lot more kind of strategic and a lot more people focused in managing the team rather than doing, the actual core stuff. So
Brilliant. And that, I guess, now enables you slash Kev to, if you need to do school runs, if you need to be sort of available kind of at the drop of the hat from a family perspective, you're able to do that.
Exactly. So we do the drop-offs in the morning. We get in about 9:15, and we tend to leave around 4:15, 4:30, and pick up the girls. So yeah, we've definitely got more of a balance, can do those things. And since the pandemic, we learnt that if we're not in the office, it's not the end of the world. So that's been really cool. So there'll be a couple of days a week where we'll work from home as well. And like I said, thanks to the team as well for doing everything that they do. So,
what are school holidays like, Amy?
School holidays, we're very lucky to have our parents and our siblings to help out. So big shout out to them because, they do step in. Like today, we were just talking about chicken pox and our little one's got chicken pox, and my in-laws just stepped in literally, at the last second so we could be here. And I think that some support systems, really important. But there are times where, they're not available, nobody's available, and we take her in now because she's 5, so she comes with us, and that was one of the things we really wanted, actually, for her to see your parents at work, and have value for working and hard work. So she comes in and she does shredding and she helps out.
Brilliant.
And that's really fulfilling, actually, for us to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, inevitably one of us has to stay back sometimes, and we can't go, and that's also helped us with our balance and being like, actually, I can stay home today, I've got less on my calendar, you go in. And we're lucky to have 2. Jen, it's a bit different for you, but yeah.
Would you sort of mention, obviously, the children coming into the office every so often? Would you like that to be kind of the future for them to get more and more involved in the business?
Definitely. When we were growing up, we grew up in family businesses, and I have taken so much from that. And at the time I hated it. I come after school and you have to go to my parents' shop and kind of sit around or stack the shelves or, do those kind of things. I was just like, oh, can I just go home and watch TV? But what I've got from it, has helped me throughout my life. And so, I want the girls to really see, the hands-on stuff and not just have all of these things and not know where it comes from, because it obviously comes from a lot of hard work. And so I do see them being involved in the future.
Jen, what would you say to someone that's kind of looking at franchising, considering becoming a business owner, but perhaps has some reservations around maybe a challenging home life? What sort of considerations should they be thinking about?
It's a really difficult one to answer because for me, the challenges really outweighed everything else. I have to think about that, really. So for me, my daughter's a bit older. So I don't have to, today, actually she's helping me by being home with with tonsillitis, whatever she's got. I felt that it was to my benefit because I do have the autonomy and freedom to come and go as I need. I also believe that it's teaching her independence in a lot of ways because I can't be there to pick up, to do everything. So sometimes now, and she hates it, she has to get a taxi home from school and she'll do everything she possibly can to avoid it. If somebody was in this position and about to start, I would suggest that they're not scared of hard work at all, because it is really tough. But for me, that was a buzz rather than anything else. And if I could work and commute to London and have a full-time, full-on job in London for all those years when she was smaller, having a business locally was way easier because I was around, actually. I can't think of anything terribly negative to say about that.
That's good. That's good. How about you, Amy? What sort of questions should someone in that position be asking themselves around becoming a business owner if perhaps home life's a bit hectic?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to make some time. I don't think personally that, you can go into this thinking that it's going to be like 9 to 5 from the beginning. And like when those challenges drop, like somebody leaves and, there's a client who doesn't have care, you're in an industry where it's not good enough. You need to get somebody there. So yeah, you have to be focused. You have to be ready to put time in. If you've got very young kids, you need some sort of support system around you for those moments. But yeah, I think hard work is key. Like it looks very nice once you've got to a stage where you have got that balance. But I think if people could have a look at the hard work that goes into actually getting it to that point, it's nuts. And there's some really low lows as well. But then there's also very high highs, like Jen said. So we are very grateful for what we've built through Right at Home and the support we've received from them. But there's been a lot of hard work and late nights. So be ready for that for sure.
Fantastic. I think that tees up nicely for a bit forward looking. What would you say the future holds for yourself, for Kev, the business, and also family life? What sort of are you looking forward to in the coming months and years?
I think we're taking each year as it comes, whereas before we were kind of just like going a million miles an hour. We're going to see what kind of life we want to build now, going from where we are now. We're excited to keep the flexibility that we have in our life and have that balance and be able to spend time with the kids, but also fulfill our own ambitions. So yeah, I can't say that, I'm just going to like float along because I'm just not that type of person. But I think for now, we're just going to kind of keep our balance and see what it's like when they're 10 years old or when our kids are a bit older. So yeah, take each day as it comes.
Fantastic. And how about you, Jen? What does the future hold for you?
Yeah, so I'm in a slightly different position in that I've just turned 50, or I'm about to turn 51 actually. So I've got 20 years. I've got no plans or strategies at all about my future. I haven't thought about selling the business. So it's to continue to be involved in it, but potentially do more travel. But I mean, nothing. I'm not going, I don't want to go away for 3 months. I just would like to have those trips and that bit of sun and a bit of... And the best thing, most recently, is being able to take a risk to look at upgrading our home. And that's, for me, it's going to cost money. And, potentially having a swimming pool in the garden. Like these are the things that I can actually seriously consider. It's crazy. Yeah, so at the moment, I know that the business can sell at some stage. But for now, I'm in it for the next 20 years. I've got nothing else, really.
Amazing. That buzz that being part of the kind of a key part of the community gives you is just really, you love it.
I love it. I just love it. I love, I keep popping out to view houses at the moment and the estate agent goes, I saw you this day and I saw you that day and you're always walking around. But being because I grew up in so many different countries, we moved so many times. This is the longest I've been in one place and I've kind of got my roots in, and that is massive for me because family was always really important, but they were abroad and I was here and we were all moving around all the time. So it's more just having my roots in one place. And even now while we're looking, we don't want to leave our town.
So Amy, we've obviously touched on community being kind of at the heart of Right at Home. What have yourself and Kev done within your local community, kind of at the different stages as well? So sort of right at the outset, what groups and opportunities did you look to get involved in? And what have you been doing kind of more recently to engage with your local community?
So at the beginning, we were going out and meeting local charities and organisations that were linked to care. We joined local networking groups, and we tried to just get to know people and befriend people. Really, we've never really liked the hard kind of sell kind of thing. But as we were doing all the networking, really opened our eyes to the amazing things that go on in the community. Which we didn't really know much about because we were like in our professions and we didn't really know what was going on in the local community like that. But over the years, we've built some really good links with our local hospice, Mountbatten, Hampshire. We've supported Rowlands Hospice. Kev is on the committee for the DAG, which is the Basildon Hound and Portswood Dementia Group. I was on the committee for the Southampton Dementia Festival. So we've tried to actually get involved with what's going on locally. And that's really helped us to understand what is available locally for our clients, and also build a bit of a community for our caregivers so they can get involved in fundraising. We have coffee clubs. Sometimes the charities will come in and speak to our teams. So it kind of just links together the different kind of things going out in the community, but also with our service.
So Amy, do you see any sort of overlap or parallels between what you're sort of doing in your business life, if you like, with sort of your own parents, your in-laws, your family?
Yeah, definitely, because both Kev and I lived with our grandparents growing up, and my grandmother's recently been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Well, I say recently, but obviously it's been a journey. And she's recently gone into a home, and navigating that with our parents, with the rest of the family. And obviously when you're somebody who's got kind of knowledge of the industry, everyone kind of turns to you, and the emotions of it are very, very different. But it definitely fuels what you're doing, and you want to make your service better. You understand your clients more, and you can really feed that back into the business. So I think, if you are close to your parents, your grandparents, the experiences that you have will 100% transfer into the way that you manage your business.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Amy. So it's my parents that are starting to get to a stage where they may need help. And when I receive phone calls from people who are calling up about their parents, there are so many parallels in terms of the conversation. When one person says, a potential client will say, "Oh, my father, this is happening." I said, "Oh, I understand. I get it. I have similar situations with my parents." And it will be interesting to see what happens when they do start to need help. In fact, my father's had a couple of biopsies yesterday. They're both really fit and well. Mum still plays tennis all the time. She's in her late 70s, so they're well and active. But there will come a time where they will need some support, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Amy, what does Right at Home mean to you?
I just love what we do. I love helping people. I love our clients. Our caregivers and our office team are amazing. Kev and I go home every day and feel like we're doing something really worthwhile. And there's no limit to it. There's so much more we could do to make it even better for our clients. And I think, that's really exciting, isn't it? When you can feel like we're doing good, but we can do even better. I've just loved the whole journey from beginning to now. I know we've spoken a lot about the ups and downs, but actually I feel really passionate about what we do. And I'm really lucky to have found something, because I don't think everybody does find their passion in life, do they? But I think with Right at Home and in care, you can really invest emotionally in what you're doing and feel like you're making a difference.
I can't imagine doing anything else, and I feel incredibly grateful and lucky that I found, Right at Home, yes, but the model of us being able to do something like this, work within our community, doing good, looking after vulnerable people within our community, but also on a personal level. You know, I've always been, salaried. And I put some goals in place at the beginning before I started the business, and 2 of those 3 goals, I've done it in 5 years, worked really hard. And so I'm also really proud of what I've achieved. But I couldn't imagine doing anything else but what I'm doing now. I love it. Just like Amy says, I love my team around me. I love the carers. I love my clients. I just love the whole thing. And that is the truth. It's completely authentic. Yeah.
Amazing. Would you mind sharing what those goals that you set are?
Yeah, I can share. So there's 3 things that are my go-to. Actually, I've got 2.5 really. Where my goals were, luxury holidays. I hate flying. I like to sit on those nice, comfortable chairs on a plane. So, I can take my daughter, or my husband and I can take her and go wherever we want, whenever we want. The other thing was really silly, but I think, it was a Tesla. I always wanted a Tesla. From 5 years ago, I was like, I want one of those Model X's, which I haven't got, but I have bought myself a Model Y, which I love. I love driving. I hate driving normally. It's fun, and I've bought it myself. Like it's my car. And then the third thing was having one day a swimming pool, because I love being outdoors and I love being in water. I have had a hot tub for the last couple of years that's got better. I keep kind of getting a better one. But, there's a chance I might be able to have a swimming pool one day. My hot tub makes me really happy. I love being in there. I love being in the sun. And I just be on my own and I love it. So 2.5 of the things. So the luxury travel, my little toy Tesla, or big toy Tesla, and a swimming pool one day maybe.
A big thank you to Jen and Amy for sharing their insights on juggling family life and building a business. A lot of useful takeaways and insights that will hopefully help you as you explore your own journey with the Right at Home franchise opportunity.